Hi, hello, how you doing? My name is Mariana, but you can call me Mari. Welcome back to my channel. Today I will be discussing a book I really didn't like. Alright, so today we will be talking about the book Punk 57. And before I begin rambling on and ranting about this book, I want to put up a little disclaimer. First, I am not an expert on the romance genre. I read a lot of romance, not necessarily young adult romance. And I wouldn't consider myself an expert by any means. My opinions are coming from someone who has read a lot of romance books, who has read a lot of books in general, and who also has a double major in English, literature, and linguistics. So I think I know a little bit, obviously without trying to sound too full of myself and not trying to put myself on a pedestal. And I don't want to imply that my opinions are more important. Obviously, that's not what this is about. So this leads me to my second point in this disclaimer is that I don't want to attack the author. It's not my purpose to look at her writing and say that she is a bad writer per se. It's just analyzing the work in particular and analyzing the book, what is written here, which may not represent necessarily the author herself. And number 3, if this is your favorite book of all time and you absolutely adore this book, maybe don't watch this video. I think it's important to put out different opinions, so if you love this book, tell me why. And this may be a little masochistic of me, but I'm the type of person who likes to watch rant reviews of books I really like, or I like hearing why people don't like the books I really enjoy. But if you don't enjoy that, then maybe don't watch this video. And if you're interested to hear my thoughts, then keep watching. So let's begin with the things I did like about this book, because I think we have to keep a little bit of a balance, although it'll tip towards the negative side in a bit. Things I really did enjoy about this book is that it's fast-paced. It keeps you engaged. You want to learn what happens. It's not a book that I will begin to read and then just put down. I don't think it's a very DNF-able book per se. And I do enjoy some of the character dynamics, but in general, other than the fact that I read it fast, I didn't really enjoy this book at all. So let's begin with the things. That was short. Okay, so let's talk about the things I didn't like. And so I have my notes here, and I organized this video in terms of the plot. So I will be recapping the plot as I kind of think about the things I particularly liked or didn't like about each portion of the book. So you have been warned, there will be many spoilers in this video. I will be talking in detail about plot points and about spoilers. So this is your warning in case you don't want to know about this book or you want to read it for some reason. I wouldn't necessarily recommend reading it. There are so many other romance books out there, but to each their own, right? Okay, so just to talk a little bit about the plot of this book, we need to introduce the two main characters. We have Misha and we have Ryan. Misha is a perspective we get to read more from at the very beginning. Oh, and that's another thing I liked and I forgot to mention, is that I like when we have double perspectives. I like to be able to read from each character's perspective. Though I do enjoy reading third-person narratives, first-person narratives tend to feel a little bit closer to the reader, and so for romance, I think it works very well. And Misha's perspective lets us know right away that he is angry, he is angsty, and he is this very dark, mysterious boy who has tattoos and piercings. He has a lip piercings, some neck tattoos. So he's a very stereotypical bad boy that you would read about or watch in movies. And you right away get the idea that one, he is very just angry and at everything, and that he sees himself as not like other boys. Very much like a soft boy persona. And he has a little sister who he is very close with at the beginning of the novel. We get this dynamic between them and he's very protective of her. And then we also kind of learn that he doesn't get along with his dad very well, and his mom is not in the picture at all. Then after we see this dynamic with his sister, he goes off to a party where he meets his friends. I think one of his friends' name is Dane, and that's like his main friend, but we don't really see him much throughout the novel. They go to this party, and as we are reading from Misha's perspective, we learn about Ryan because they have been pen pals for the longest time. They know each other, so we have established this relationship between the two characters because when they were little, they were assigned to each other as pen pals because the school made a mistake and thought that Misha was a girl. And initially, I thought that Misha was a girl too. So I actually, while I was reading the first chapter, I thought this was a sapphic love story. And then I actually learned that this is a very heterosexual novel. But Misha gets assigned to Ryan by mistake, but then they start talking and then they start connecting, talking about their deepest wishes, their deepest secrets, and they bond over the fact that they don't feel like they belong in this world. And it's a very teenage perspective that I do respect and I do enjoy. And I like that they know each other beforehand. It is established that they love each other for who they are on the inside and their interactions through letters, which is quite cute, you know. It's nice to read that type of perspective. And they have decided that they don't want to know what they look like. They are forbidden from looking at each other's social media, so they actually don't know what the other person looks like. And Misha goes to this party. He hears the name Ryan, because obviously the story has to start somewhere. And he hears it, he tries to resist temptation of going up to see who she is, but obviously curiosity gets the best of him, and then he goes up to who he thinks is Ryan, hears her name, and cannot believe his eyes at this girl that he is seeing. So that's where we get the first quote that I want to mention, which is him coming up to her and being like, please don't let it be. Please just be sweet, socially awkward, shy, and everything I've loved for 7 years. Don't complicate it by being hot. So please don't be like other girls and be very awkward and shy and the stereotypical nerdy girl, but don't you dare be attractive. So after he says that, we learn that Ryan has been talking about this cheerleader girl that she hates. And guess what? This teenager girl that she hates is herself. She seems to be putting out this fake persona of being someone else, being this popular cheerleader girl, when in the inside she's actually very nerdy. And honestly, that's very common, I guess. Like, you can be conventionally attractive and also be very intelligent, smart, sweet, socially awkward, and shy, as Misha himself is mentioning. So I don't understand why she can't be both. I guess it makes sense in the sense of what we learned later, but just this predisposition of seeing her and realizing that she's not this like shy, awkward girl puts him off and makes him angry. And they start interacting out of pure coincidence that he is there, and one of his friends is like, hey, go talk to them. And then Ryan's friends, her name is Lila, she like pushes Ryan and is like, hey, go talk to that guy, he looks hot. And so Ryan goes up to Misha and starts talking to him, and he's just in shock about everything, so he doesn't really tell her, hi, I am Misha, and just completely avoids the fact that, you know, they have this connection and they actually know each other and they are friends. He wants to completely eliminate the fact that he is seeing her for the first time. And that's pretty much their first encounter. He doesn't tell her who he is, and so she never knows that that's Misha that she is talking to, this hot guy with the tattoos and the piercings. Then we move forward a couple of months later, and then we get Ryan's perspective. And from Ryan's perspective, we learn that Misha has stopped writing to her and has been missing, and she is very sad and lonely because she has lost the only person she actually trusts and considers her close friend. We learned from her perspective that she was relentlessly bullied when she was a kid. She only had one friend. Her name was Delilah, and she ended up ditching Delilah to become popular and create this fake persona that she has for herself. She's kind of like the bully of the school. She's like the popular teenager who treats others like garbage, and we see that she hates who she is on the outside, and she hates her friends. And this is where we get introduced to the other side characters. We have her friend that I mentioned before, Lila, who is also the stereotypical cheerleader, very mean, very rude to everybody else. But also we add to the fact that she is a slut, as they refer to her, because she likes to flirt and she likes to have sex with different guys. And guys who have girlfriends and guys who don't, and she doesn't care. And we also meet Trey, who is like the fake love interest. So he is like the guy that Ryan is flirting with but has no interest in. And he is also like the football, very stereotypical dick. And very rude again, very mean, big bully, very violent, very misogynistic, treats women like objects, and exactly what we would expect from this type of character. Very, again, stereotypical, over the top bully. And then his best friend JD, who seems just a chill dude, laughs at the jokes that they make that are really mean and rude, but doesn't necessarily engage directly with the bullying itself. Just by looking at this set of characters. Oh, and I forgot, she also is friends with Ten, who is a gay guy. And that's his whole personality. Nothing else. We learn about absolutely nothing about him. All these characters are one-dimensional as hell. We know nothing about these side characters other than the fact that they are these like cookie-cutter, stereotypical people that they are supposed to represent. Ryan is very much embodying the I'm not like other girls aesthetic. She, at every single page, she finds a way to differentiate herself from Lila, even though she's acting exactly the same. And in the inside, she's like, I am not like this. I don't know why I keep up this persona. And it's like, because you have adapted to be this way. You don't necessarily have to be this way. And this is why it doesn't really make sense to me. Why she would continue this persona for so long. I mean, her whole life, ever since she was a little girl. There are so many people that have been bullied and don't become horrible people. And obviously there are cases like this, and I'm not trying to say that bullies don't exist and that girls can't be mean, but this whole idea of like I'm not like other girls sets her apart from absolutely every single other girl in the school. And we don't learn about any other girl. There's like one more who serves as a plot point to make her jealous, but other than that, no girls. And I don't believe that. I am sure that if she were to, you know, decide that she wants to be herself, she would find a girlfriend. Again, I understand why she's in the position that she is, and I'm not going to claim that it's easy to get out of those group dynamics, but if she were to do it, it's not like she would be alone with no other girls around. That's what I'm trying to say. It's just that we have no idea what the school is like. It's like they exist and nobody else. They are the only students in this high school from what we know, and the guy they bully. And this whole idea of not being like other girls brings me to my second quote that I highlighted, which is Ryan saying, I learned a long time ago that you don't need to reveal everything inside of you to the people around you. They like to judge, and I'm happier when they don't. Some things stay hidden, which obviously it makes sense. Sometimes you choose who you tell things to, and that's totally fine. But again, this whole idea of I can't trust absolutely anybody and I have to be rude and mean in order for people to respect me, I don't like it. I don't buy it. I think it sends out the wrong message. But anyways, at least she has some character development. You may have noticed the light changed. It's because it's a different time in the day. So let's continue talking a little bit about the plot of this novel. I left off with the description of Ryan and how she was feeling. And in the actual book, they, as a group, her, JD, Trey, Ten, and Lila all go to this abandoned carnival at night, which I don't really understand the logistics of. It doesn't explain how they got in, and they end up going downstairs into like a cave that also wasn't very well explained, so I couldn't even tell you how they got there. But apparently they go into a little cave where someone is living, and they find all these poetry notebooks. They find a lot of writings on the wall, writing in the floor, things that seem like song lyrics. And what does Ryan do? She decides to take one of the poems that she actually quite liked. And one of the lines of the poem said something about you taste very good, or you taste like a rose, or like a something like that, something like you taste good. And so she liked the line, she took it with her. It reminded her of Misha, who she hadn't talked to for a really long time. So she took it with her, and then the next day at school, she sees that there is a new kid in her classroom. And part of her is trying to figure out where she's seen him before, because she's like, I have seen this guy somewhere, but I can't remember where. And guess who it is? It is Misha. He's sitting in the back of the classroom being very angsty, very mysterious, and she is surprised to see him there, but kind of tries to not really pay attention. Meanwhile, she's very hyper-focused on him. And there's this other kid in the classroom who's being bullied by Trey. Ryan joins in, says something really mean to him, and Misha is just sitting there like, I cannot believe this is the girl that I love. I can't believe this is the Ryan that I know. Because Ryan is not like this. She is not a mean person. She doesn't bully other people to make herself feel better. But this is the Ryan that we are presented, and this is the Ryan that Misha is seeing. So when they are in the cafeteria, Misha is already pretty angry at her. You can see that the descriptions of him is that they are like, he has his fist very tight, and she comes up to him and asks him for his name. He's not really listening to her. He's not really looking at her. He doesn't even acknowledge that she's there. So she gets a little angry, gets closer to him, and he grabs her by the waist, sits her on top of him, comes really close to her ear and whispers, "You taste like shit." How romantic, am I right? And then drops her to the floor, humiliates her in front of her popular friends, and walks off. And she's like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Why does he hate me? And she doesn't understand, obviously. Why would she understand what's going on? She doesn't know that's Misha. She knows him as Mason because that's the name that he gives the class. That's the name that he gives her. So she doesn't know who this guy is, and she doesn't know why this guy hates her so much and is treating her like that. She's very angry at the whole situation because she feels humiliated, rightly so. And she goes home after school, goes into her room, and finds that Mason is there. Dun, dun, dun. And he's just there creepily looking at her and lurking in her room. She is clearly not having it and tells him to leave, and he tells her, give me back my things. And this is where we get to this particular scene that I just want to read the totality of because it is absolutely infuriating. It says, I lunge for him. I grab hold of the book because he takes her journal, but he shoves me back and I stumble onto the bed, his body coming down on mine. I grunt and cry out, trying to get the book. He reaches for something, and then my scissors from my desk is pointing at my face. I freeze, staring at the tip. Don't worry, he taunts in a dark voice. I won't make sure this falls into your mom's hands. I'm going to rip out every single fucking page and plaster them all over school, so listen loud and clear, you stupid c***. I'm done talking to you, and I'm done looking at you. I want the locket, and I want the piece of paper you took at the cove. The cove? I gasp under the weight of his body. What? What the hell is he talking about? And then I pause as it hits me. The cove. Last night. The piece of paper. I want a lick while you still taste like you. Oh, that was the line. I want a lick like you still taste like, while you still taste like you. And then today, you taste like shit. I stare at him, dumbfounded. Oh my god. That was his room? I was right. There was someone there in the tunnel. He saw us. So, he not only physically threatens her with a pair of scissors, he also calls her a stupid cunt. How romantic, am I right? Anyways, then we move to, he takes the paper because she gives him back the paper, and then he's like, now the necklace. I didn't take the necklace, I shout, just the paper. He snaps the scissors at my hair again, and I scream, damn it, I told you, I didn't take it, 10 was with me, he took it. Shit. What? Mason growls, probably seeing the realization on my face. I breathe hard, flexing my jaw. My friend was with me. I'll get it, alright? I'll get it. Now get off me. He pauses, staring down at me, but eventually he pushes off the bed and tosses the scissors onto the desk, sliding the poem into his back pocket. I stood up, grabbing at my ponytail and finding the small bit of hair that was snipped, only about half an inch from a few strands. He cut her hair. He actually cut her hair. And you're telling me this is the romantic interest that we're supposed to root for? This is the guy that I'm supposed to like think, oh, he's so nice. That I'm supposed to think that is a good love interest for a protagonist? Am I supposed to really like him at all? Like, that's a real question that I made myself up until this point. I was like, I don't like this guy. And if he were ever to do this to me, I would never consider even coming close to him. And I think it makes it worse knowing that he's Misha and he is somebody who is supposed to love her for who she is and treats her like this. And this is a toxic romance that we're supposed to root for. Nope. No thank you. I think I'll pass. I would rather read a boring romance than something like this. And after we get this incredibly violent back and forth, we end up getting a little bit more insight into Misha's perspective. I also forgot to mention that this book spoils Anna Karenina for absolutely no reason. It works just so that Misha can make fun of Ryan for liking Twilight in front of her class. So she's like being really rude to the teacher and talking back at the teacher, which I also hated. I'm like, girl, get out of my classroom. I just don't understand why she treats her teachers that way too. It doesn't really make sense in my head. Like, all right, you want to be respected, but do you really need to be rude to a teacher that has done absolutely nothing to you in any way, who's just trying to get you to read the freaking novel? And you try to get, and Ryan tries to get into this whole rant about how women in society need to get a better place or whatever. It's kind of hypocritical of her to go on that rant, if you ask me. But then she says how Anna Karenina ends, just for no reason. I guess I wasn't planning on reading this book at all, and then I read it and I get spoiled for a book that I've been wanting to read for the longest time ever, and I hadn't been spoiled. And I was so angry. I was like, why do you need to spoil a Russian classic? And I know it's a classic, and I know a lot of people know the whole story, but I didn't, and I was sad because I wanted to read Anna Karenina. But let's go back to Misha. Misha's perspective is again explaining why he's so angry at Ryan, saying that she's a fake, that she is very phony for pretending she's somebody she's not. And he says, Ryan, the beautiful, perfect girl who's different from all others. And again, this is all him idealizing Ryan. He's not seeing her as an actual person. He either sees her as a nerdy person from the letters that she wrote, or as an object that he can objectify and look as something attractive for him, for his own pleasure. We also learn in these chapters from his perspective that his sister passed away and died the same night that he went to the party and met Ryan. So there's an added layer to his anger, and there's an added layer onto why he's acting so violent. But it doesn't excuse it. None of that excuses the way he treats her, and it's never really talked about or discussed afterwards that he threatened her physically with scissors, cut her hair, called her a stupid cunt, and then they keep on having back and forths where we get a lot of sexual tension, and I will give you that. Like, there's a lot of sexual tension in this book. But even the smutty scenes, the dirty talk, is so violent. Like, he calls her a bitch. He says all these really rude things to her while turning her on. And yes, valid. You do you. Everyone gets off in different ways. But if we add the scene that happened before and we have that context, it just makes it worse in my eyes. And even though there are some really hot scenes, I just think there are better romance books out there with better sex scenes. They have some sexy times in the library, in the school's library, and the next day Ryan goes to school and learns that Mason, or 2 days after, she learned that Mason the night before, so right after they were having their little library time, went out with another girl to show her that if she is flirting with Trey, then he can do whatever he wants, because Ryan keeps on flirting with Trey anyways and keeps him around. And in her eyes, it's because she doesn't want him to be mad at her and doesn't want him to treat her like shit, which I completely understand, because these dudes, if they don't get what they want, they can get very nasty. So I do understand her perspective. But Mason, or Misha's perspective, is this whole revenge against her for making him feel jealous. And so he tells her that he had sex with this girl. He describes it in very graphic ways. He makes her feel absolutely horrible, and he makes her feel like garbage, like she doesn't matter, like that everything that happened before and their sexy time at the library was nothing to him. He doesn't care, and he makes her feel that way, and that's what it's portrayed to the reader. And then they start having like a secret relationship. He clears up that the whole sex with the other girl was a lie. He didn't do anything after he already made her think that he did. So it's just very manipulative, and it's gaslighting, because she actually believes that it happened, and then out of the blue he's like, no, I'm just kidding, I'm just joking, but see, this is how I feel when you're flirting with Trey. As if it was the same. It's not. Flirting with someone versus actually sleeping with someone and being very descriptive and saying that the girl is really good in bed, it's not the same thing, Misha. It's just not. He also says, get over it. A pussy is a pussy after all. And if I don't get it from you, I can get it from someone else with a lot less hassle. And then she says, dickhead. Which, yeah, he is. He thinks with his dick. He has a penis for a head. And it's just awful. And then just 5 minutes later, he's like, I love you. Which makes no sense. And so they start having this secret relationship, having little, you know, encounters everywhere, banter ensues. And there's this whole side plot in the novel that someone has been writing in the school and leaving messages and signing them as punk. And we learn that, who is it that's been writing them? Ryan. Yeah, Ryan. Because she feels like an outsider, she feels like she doesn't belong, she feels like not like other girls, so she decides to vandalize the school and write about how everybody is fake and how society is awful. And it's just very poetic, I guess, but none of this book's like poetic insights or philosophical ideas are explored enough for us to care or for us to actually buy into this whole philosophical discussion. So it just ends up being a little cringy, if you ask me. And they start seeing each other, and every time Mason sees her or talks about her, it's in this tone, or Misha. He says, what a double-edged sword. Am I angry she's a fake, weak-assed little liar? Yes. But am I happy she's also got the body of a porn star? Hell yes. She doesn't have to talk for me to look. Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, at least he's admitting that he sees her only as an object. And the worst part is, remember, she still doesn't know that he is Misha. So she talks to Mason, who she thinks is Mason, about Misha and about how he stopped writing to her and how she misses him and she wishes that he would answer her letters. And Misha, or slash Mason, is sitting there like, oh yeah, tell me more about this guy, without telling her that it's him. So she's been having all these experiences with someone that knows her, and oh, it's so icky. It's icky. Like, I wouldn't want to be in that position. I would feel so betrayed. Afterwards, when she finds out, she is rightfully very, very angry at him and gets really sad. And she says something that actually kind of breaks my heart a little bit, because she tells him, "You're so selfish." She cries softly. "You take and take and take, and you didn't even think of me, did you? I was never real to you." And that just explains absolutely everything. She was never real to him. She was either this dorky girl from the letters, or she was this object that he could play with. And he played her. And it's just awful because we're supposed to root for her, but she's also not a good person. So, but I side a little bit more with her because I guess I understand her a little bit more. I just don't like this love interest that she is picking. Just Misha is not a good person. They both have their faults, but I think the whole manipulation that Misha does throughout the book and the way that he treats her overall just sends out the complete wrong message. And you can look very mean and rough and angry and be just a very nice person. Nothing about your outside should determine what your inside is like. You shouldn't judge people by how they look, and that's exactly what they are complaining about, and that's exactly what they do to each other. When everything hits the fan and it all goes to shit, and Ryan is really angry at Misha for lying to her, she goes to this party but doesn't really drink, and she plays around with Ten, who's her gay best friend, because again, the only time we ever see him is just to fill in plots about him being gay. And she gets her stomach licked by Ten, which obviously doesn't have anything sexual because he's gay. But Misha sees it and doesn't realize it's Ten, so he goes ballistic, goes into the party, tries to look at what is happening, realizes that it's Ten and not a random dude, calms down, and then sees Trey, starts to fight with Trey because they've been going head to head for the entire book over Ryan. And Mason sees that Trey is wearing a watch, and it kind of triggers him into this spiral of, why do you have the watch? Why do you have the watch? It's my watch, and takes it, and then gets charged with trying to steal Trey's watch and goes to jail. So he goes to jail, and after that incident, the next day he comes to school. Ryan has forgiven him for lying to her the whole book, and and the principal comes up to him and is like, I want to see you in my office right now. And fun fact, the principal is Trey's stepmom. So obviously after the fight that he had with her stepson, she's like, what is wrong with you? What is going on? You can't really be doing this if you're going to be a new student at this school. And he drops the huge plot twist and bomb that he has been in this school this entire time, not because of Ryan. No. And we know that. We know that it's not because of Ryan. So why is it? Oh, it's because the principal is his mom. Because she calls his dad and finds out, oh, crap. This is my ex who I ran away from, and I left my 2 children. So he makes her admit that she abandoned them, that she didn't care, that she left them behind and never looked back. And that's exactly what she says. And then Misha's like, thank you for saying that. Now I can live in peace, and I can know that my sister died trying to do everything to be the perfect daughter and to try to be an overachiever for absolutely everything, hoping that one day you would come back, and you never would. So she did it all in vain. And that part is heartbreaking. More than for Misha, for his sister, who ended up being addicted to drugs to keep herself up at night and to be able to do all these things that she needed to do in order to be perfect, and ended up having a heart attack while running out at night while Misha was at the party. So we learned that, and it explains a little bit as to why he was there, and it wasn't only because of Ryan. And again, we learn a little bit more his motivations behind everything that's going on and why he hates Trey so much, other than the fact that he is a horrible person and a bully. Both of them are. But Trey has that added layer of horribleness to the fact that he is not only just a complete douchebag to girls, but also takes pictures of them naked and keeps them in his drawer. So we also learn that detail through the novel about Trey, which adds way more just horribleness to him. And then Lila, Ryan's best friend, also ends up sleeping with Trey and betrays JD, who at the time was her boyfriend. And it's just a mess. It's just a huge mess. JD seems kind of like a nice guy. Again, we don't really learn anything about these characters. Yeah, me too. I'm angry. Let me pick you up. Yeah, me too. So again, we don't learn anything about these characters other than the fact that they are very stereotypical cookie cutter versions of what they're supposed to be. And then, yeah, Misha and Ryan get together. They end up talking it out, I guess. Not really a lot of conversation goes on between them. I think they would have needed to have a lot more conversations for her to be able to truly forgive him. But I guess she forgave him because we get a fast forward 5 years and they are married and they have a kid. Because that's how you solve everything. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, I have nothing to say about that ending. Honestly, it's to be expected that by the end everything just gets solved by the fact that he's, you know, nicer, I guess, and now he's like a famous singer because he's part of a band, and he is also very devoted to Ryan and loves her a lot, regardless of the fact that he actually treated her like absolute garbage and objectified her to no end. And yeah, no. I guess what I wanted to say more than anything about this whole plot and this whole novel is the fact that this is targeted towards young adults, so teenage girls who are reading this and seeing this example of a relationship as something that they should aspire to, or as something that is like hot and steamy, when in reality it's just toxic. And I am not against toxic material in books. I am not against transgressive literature, and I am not against portraying horrible things in books, but the target audience being teenage girls in itself is very problematic. You're putting out the idea that romantic relationships should be like this, and if they're not like this, then they're not, you know, interesting enough. And that's what I thought when I was a teenager, and I kept on reading all these books that were very similar to this one, telling me that I needed to find my own angsty, dark, mysterious boy who treated me like crap. And I thought that was normal. And I thought that you needed to hurt to be in a relationship with someone. Finally, I just want to show you the last quote that I highlighted in this book. And it kind of articulates exactly why I don't like this type of book. It says, "He hurt me and I hurt him, but shit happens and love doesn't change. He makes me happier and he makes me stronger and he knows everything and still wants me. If he can say the same, then this is it, the real thing." And it bothers me. It bothers me that this is the low standard that we are set in terms of romantic relationships. No, love is not supposed to be like this. Let's stop teaching girls that this is the love that they should aspire. They should aspire for more. They should aspire for someone who actually treats them well. And if the guy is dark and mysterious, he can also be sweet and kind. There is absolutely no need to have these violent scenes between the main characters that then end up being covered up by love and affection. And you can have a lot of love in a relationship without needing to be violent towards each other. And I think communication is key, and communication is the key factor missing from this whole book. The whole entire novel, he lies to her about something very important, about his identity, about who he is. He knows exactly who she is and still treats her like crap. That's the worst part of everything. She still does very shitty things to him, don't get me wrong, but does she actually physically threaten him as he does to her? And even if she did, would that be okay? I don't think so. So I just don't want to keep on seeing this pattern being repeated in these books that are targeted towards teenage girls, because teenage girls deserve better. And I hope that if you're watching this, you know that you deserve so much love and kindness and affection. And I hope it comes to you in the way that feels good and not in a way that feels abusive or violent, like this book tries to portray it as. If someone hurts you in the way that Misha hurt Ryan, or in the way that Ryan hurt Misha, reconsider. Reconsider the love that you have. And love does change, and it gets better, and it gets kinder, and it gets better. So I hope you're having a wonderful week. I hope you enjoyed this video, even though it was a lot. And I will see you in another video soon. Bye bye.